I think this is the first time I've ever done a full review with the microphone being handheld. This is kind of cool. Rarely do I get as much time with a product as such a great testing experience I had at NAB with this mic, the Interview Pro by Rode. And honestly, if you're wondering what it is, well, it's literally just that. A microphone that is meant for interviewing people, or ENG, field recording, field interviewing. And it's meant to do it in the easiest possible way. So let's get started on what this thing brings to the table and the experience you can expect when you buy one. Starting out with the build quality. Now, this thing is decently light, but at the same time, feels extremely well built. You see, the body is all anodized aluminum, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. It's actually really hard to tell just by touch, but when you look under the hood, or at least as much as you can, well, you see this, which means this is an impressive build, especially when you consider everything. The barrel separates just like this to offer up a very simple interface. It's just a single USB-C plug that lets you communicate with Rode Central. Now, there are 3 buttons total on the unit. Starting at the bottom, you have the power button that also works as a pairing button. And then up the handle, you have the record button as well as a mute button. By the way, I should tell you that mute button only works on the transmission to the receiver if you're using one of the wireless series from Rode. It does not work to mute your recording that is local on the device. Now, the grill is nice and firm, no give whatsoever, and this little tail down here is basically the signal antenna. Now, something to be aware of here is that you cannot cover up or block this antenna while you're recording to the wireless receiver, or you will run into drops and other issues. So make sure your hand is halfway up the handle when using it. This is something I struggle with, and I'm not exactly sure why, but you can actually see me doing it in my video with Ryan from Rode. Now, when you buy this, you also get a clown nose for the wind, though I would have loved a dead cat, or as the Australians call it, a dead wombat. But you also get this mic clip for when you're setting this up at a lectern. That's actually quite handy. As for what makes this mic stand out from using a lav system or something similar, it's in the specs. Of course, at the top of the list, you get the 32-bit float, an absolute lifesaver when you're doing news gathering of any sort, or really just anything out in the field. This is, again, along with the Wireless Pro series, the absolute best integration of 32-bit float in the prosumer industry that I've seen. Next up, you have the onboard recording. The 32 gigs of recording space can give you up to 40 hours of 32-bit recording, easily enough to cover you before you have to start dumping audio. Now, this thing also has the same 2.4 gigahertz tech that the Wireless Pro series has, and if you use it with the Wireless Pro series, you also get the benefit of timecode. You can also pair it to the Rodecaster Pro 2 or Duo as well. And of course, this thing also has the gain assist tech, which I find to be a bit redundant when you have 32-bit float, but I mean, who is going to complain about a feature? And of course, you have the capsule, and this one is Omni. Now, this might confuse some people, but I'm going to be touching in on that in a bit. It's not a bad thing. Again, give me a few and we'll dive back into that. So the first test, we're testing the Rode Interview Pro up against the Wireless Pro, and the Wireless Pro is going to be on my chest for this, kind of in its normal position. So you can kind of hear the difference as I go in between the two of them. Now I'm going to bring this up kind of more in a position of an interview where it might be. So now we have the Interview Pro up against the Wireless Pro. And this is the sound as I go between them. Now, they're about equal distant, give or take. You don't really want to get these too close to your mouth, the wireless series, because they're not intended to be used right up close. So this is the sound as I go between them. What do you think? So we're going to start out our testing with the off-axis rejection, which means this is going to be a little bit different because this is an Omni capsule. So what you're going to notice is as I move to the side, you'll notice very little tonal differences. And the mark of a good Omni capsule is that, where the tonal differences don't show up. So you can be capturing sound from many different angles and you won't have as much of a difficulty. Even from the rear, the tonal differences should be minimal. Now, this also kind of leads us into the proximity effect test as well. And you'll notice the closer you get to the microphone, yes, you will get louder, but the tone of your voice shouldn't change. And that's because the technology to create cardioid capsules actually is what introduces proximity effect to your microphones. So as you get closer, as you get further away, the tone of your voice should not be changing as you move the mic closer and further away. And that is the benefit of Omni. Now let's do a plosive rejection test. And actually, I really like this on this microphone. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now with the Rode nose, it's already got hair on it, damn it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. It actually doesn't make much of a difference with this on or off. This is a nice windscreen though. Now for the handling noise of the Rode Interview Pro. Now, I'm told a lot by people that I over-exaggerate the handling noise, and I do that for a reason. Because sometimes handling noise has to happen when you have to change hands with your microphone. And sometimes it's not a clean transfer, especially when you're mid-interview. And sometimes sounds might happen. So minimizing that handling noise is actually really important. So why Omni? This has been a bit of a debate on the channel since I dropped the video introducing this at the show. Now, what Ryan said was all true. The biggest selling feature of Omni is that it doesn't suffer from proximity effect, which works in both directions, by the way. As you get closer, you get boomier. As you back off, your voice becomes thinner. With Omni, it's not an issue. But the background noise, Aiden! Well, interestingly enough, in a loud environment, Omni will not sound worse than a cardioid. Yes, this thing captures sound in all directions, but it doesn't do it evenly, meaning further away sounds are still going to be further away. They're not going to be picked up more by an Omni capsule. Just set your gain for the source you're grabbing, like I did with Ryan from Rode, and it's going to sound just fine. Remember, in a really loud environment like a trade show, a cardioid is still going to capture all the noise because you still have to point the mic somewhere, and there probably isn't going to be a quiet direction to point it in that scenario. Now, Omni can be a problem in a small untreated room for sure, but I don't think I've ever been in a news gathering situation and found myself in a small untreated room. Also, I must add, a lot of ENG includes ambient capture. I used to run with the XY capsules on the H5, and that thing picked up all kinds of ambience during interviews. And the CBC, who I was working for at the time, loved it because that's what a lot of news companies are looking for, ambiance. You see, the sound of the restaurant makes you feel like you are in the restaurant. And as long as your mic isn't too far away from your subject, it does make for good audio. I'm not saying cardioid doesn't have its place, or XY for that matter. But what I am saying is there are multiple ways to do a job, and you don't just paint a picture with a single brush. So try these things out and don't be so quick to discount something. Get the sound of the locker room or the restaurant or the hustle and bustle of a crowd. Trust me, it adds texture to your capture. So the things I would love to see. Rode likes to tinker, and they like to improve upon their gear with new iterations, and they listen to the audience. With that in mind, I have a couple ideas of things I would love to see in the future. Now, like I mentioned earlier, ENG can benefit from multiple forms of capture, and something like swappable capsules on this, that would be awesome. Yes, the Omni has a lot of positives to it, but it isn't the only type of capsule that can come in handy. I would love a stereo capsule for really immersive audio. A cardioid capsule is also quite handy sometimes. Just a little more versatility would be awesome. And secondly, this thing has a rechargeable battery in it, and it would be awesome to have swappable batteries. Now, this is for a couple reasons. Battery running out during an interview? Just swap it out and keep going. And of course, the longevity of the product is a concern as well. Now, I'm not really digging into this for not having replaceable batteries at this point, and that's mainly because I don't know how long this is going to last. But it's not going to last forever, and at some point, this microphone will become e-waste. Now, perhaps by that point, there will be the next in the series, and I won't care. But some people will care. Some people like to run their gear for decades. So Rode, maybe some proprietary batteries. Anyways, for now, only time's going to tell how long this battery is going to last. So then, with all of that, can I recommend this, the Interview Pro? Well, this one is actually kind of super easy for me. The onboard recording, the sound quality compared to the Wireless Pro, the performance of the capsule in actual interviews, not to mention the handling noise being virtually non-existent. Probably the biggest positive from this unit is that. That is the biggest plague of news gathering equipment and something that not enough companies are doing to combat. So if you're planning on doing in-person interviewing, this microphone is a fantastic buy. And a very, very easy recommendation. What do you think about the Interview Pro though? Let me know down below. Cheers guys, and thanks for watching.